Oi, family! Welcome to another exciting episode of Let's Catch Up with Sherani. I'm your girl, Sherani, and I'm here today with my celebrity friend, Miss Hathor Hendricks. Hathor, say hi to our family.
Oi, family.
All right, listen, I want you to remember this face and I want you to remember this name. Anyways, did you miss us? We missed you too. So, Hathor, today you and I are going to be speaking with our family about stress management. And the reason I wanted to bring this topic, we wanted to bring this topic, this discussion, is because probably over the last year, I've had so many conversations and everybody seemed to be stressed out, even the children. So, Hathor, I think that you are credible based on a lot of conversations that we've had. I know you also run and manage a time management class. So let's talk about this. Why are we so tired? Why are we so stressed out? What's going on?
Well, for starters, I love that you also said that children are stressed out
Mm-hmm.
because stress isn't age restricted. The thing of it is that we all experience stress. Stress is a natural thing. Stress is literally just as natural as breathing. And what I mean by that is on a biological level, we have a nervous system, right?
Yeah.
So things get on our nerves, they stress us out.
And people.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have nervous systems. We have a parasympathetic nervous system and a sympathetic nervous system. One is our fight, flight, or freeze. Because back in the day, before we had all of our creature comforts, we had to be able to respond in high stress situations. We may have had to run for our life in danger. We may have had to go without eating meals for long periods of time while we were moving from place to place. So it's kind of like an appendix, whereas at one point we used it all the time for a specific function.
Right.
We don't necessarily do that now. So with that parasympathetic nervous system, when it's fight, flight, or freeze, oftentimes with us being so stressed, our body can't discern whether we're stressed because we're having a bad day, because we're feeling overwhelmed, and whether or not we're in danger.
Right.
So all our body knows is just to enact that response. So it could be as far as a lot of people suffer from constipation, right? But that's stress induced. So what I'm saying about it is being breathing. It's involuntary. Our body does it automatically. So it can't discern whether or not you're doing this or that. And the same with the rest and digest. When we're in a restful state, we're able to replenish, we're able to recalibrate our systems. But what happens is, since we can't discern, oftentimes we're always running on all cylinders all the time until we burn out. So it's important that we release it, but we don't release it. And that's how we're always just kind of stuck in that fight, flight, or freeze.
Okay, so I'm understanding that you're saying that based on our history, we were in stressful situations, we had to make quick decisions, and now you're saying, no, I'm saying that it's still happening today. Like, especially, I guess, since I don't want to keep talking about the pandemic, but it's still a real thing, especially since then. So many people are stressed out. School is different, life is different, work is different. The environment, it's just tough all around. What do you think, based on your expert knowledge, what do you think are some of the things that we can do as individuals? And even I want to touch on the kids. What can they do as well to help to manage stress and stressful situations?
And the operative word there is manage it, because we'll never be able to escape stress, because there are some good stressors. There are some stressors where anxiety can be good or bad, right?
Yeah.
You can be anxious about your big meeting or your big proposal on Friday. And you want that anxiety because it's going to fuel you, it's going to motivate you.
Right.
Right? Or you may be anxious about that first date. Or so we have to learn how to manage it, and we have to learn how to discern what it is. So for me, I'm all about developing healthy, holistic ways to do it. We live in a day and age where there's a prescription for everything. Antidepressants, you can't sleep, just take this pill. Instead of finding out, why is it that you can't sleep? So what I've developed is a stress management class called Feel, Reveal, and Heal.
Say that again. It's feel.
Feel, like
You
feel
feel
your
something.
feelings, see what they reveal to you. So
Reveal.
feel it. That's the thing. Oftentimes we try to repress and suppress our feelings, our emotions where we are. We're not honest with ourselves, so oftentimes it's hard to be honest with other people. Perfect example. You could be having the worst day ever. Someone asks you how you're doing. Oh, I'm good.
We do that all
With
the
a
time.
strange smile, it's like twitching at the end, your eyes twitching. Man, you're gonna go in your house and cry in your pillow, but you're saying, oh, I'm fine, I'm good. And in telling other people that, we try to convince ourselves that.
Excuse me, do you know what I do?
What
I say when I leave the house? I say lights, camera, action. Even if I'm having the worst day ever, I always tell people I manage my cry. If I feel really sad, I will say, okay, I'm going to go home and cry. I'm going to go and cry. And I'll go in my closet, I'll cry for a bit. I'll come out, wash my face, lights, camera, action. I'm good to go. So if you saw me, I could be having the worst day ever. And you say, how are you? I'll be like, oh my God, I'm fine. How are you? And I'll be friendly and good to you. I don't like transferring my sadness to others. So when you say reveal, I thought you meant like, be honest about your feelings to others. Like, say, oh, I'm not having such a good day, but, I'll be okay. Yeah.
It's a little bit of both, because in the format, I usually do it as a class. So we're all sitting in a circle. So, but the revealing is more of what are your feelings now that you've actually had time to allow yourself to feel. Because again, like you said, it's lights, camera, action. You may not have the energy, you may not feel good, but you make yourself, you will yourself, you coerce yourself to get through it. And we're always doing that. And that's how it stacks up. That's how stress builds and stress builds and stress builds. And most of the chronic diseases, whether it be gout, whether it be autoimmune diseases like lupus and things like that, oftentimes these things are from pent up stress that we didn't release, that we didn't get rid of or find some sort of outlet, that we didn't face. We just kept stacking it in the back. It's the same way if you get in your car every day and you put something in the trunk, I'll worry about it later. One day you're going to look and you can't even see in your rearview mirror because your trunk is full of stuff. It's the same thing we do with stress. So when I say feel, I mean feel it. Instead of just trying to push it off as nothing, instead of trying to make it logical, like I have to get through this because people are counting on me and I have responsibilities, take the time to feel how you're feeling. Oh, what am I feeling?
Let me just give you a little applause there. I consistently say that to people. Take the time to feel how you're feeling. And that is why I tell you, I manage my cry. If I feel overwhelmed and I want to cry, I'm not going to, like people say, suck it in. I'm not sucking in anything.
Right.
I will take some time and I will go in my little cry closet, which is also the prayer closet, and I will cry, because I think that crying has value. It's what you use to release, that feeling so that you don't end up in prison. So I that's what I do. I love that cry. I don't suck anything in.
Right, because you don't want to end up in prison, because you don't know what they do to pretty girls in prison, and you have no interest in finding out.
Right.
I feel you. I don't want my story to be on Lifetime either. That's why I created this class.
Or Loop St. Lucia.
Right. So feeling it, actually taking the time to feel how you feel. Once you allow yourself to feel, things are revealed to you. Why do I feel this way? How long have I been feeling this way? Where did this feeling come from?
I ask myself that. Anytime I'm down or I'm feeling bad, I ask myself, Sherani, what's really hurting you? Yes. What's really making you sad? Listen, I manage stress and sadness like a business. I ask myself, what is hurting you? Is it this? Is it that? And sometimes when I pinpoint what it is, then I feel better, because I'm like, okay, if this is the problem, this is the solution. That's how I manage it, because I don't want to feel sad every day and walk around and making others sad, because I know you know about transference of energy.
Right. That's very true. But at the same time, vulnerability is one of our greatest assets as human beings. We are not islands. You know that song, we all need somebody to lean.
And then the poem, the Caribbean poem. I know you're from America, but then there's the Caribbean poem. no man is an island, no man stand alone. Each man's
Exactly.
joy is joy to me. Each man's whatever,
It's
it's my
true.
own. Yeah, no man is an island.
Right.
We
And
need
within
people.
that, right, you could be stressed about this one thing, you're keeping it in, you don't tell anybody, and this
Yeah.
other person is stressed because they're just looking for somebody to give something to be a blessing to need someone to lean on them. We all have different needs, and unless we're able to first be honest with ourselves,
Absolutely.
then we're able to be honest with each other, see
Right.
what these things reveal.
Mhm.
And then the final phase of that is healing. Now that you've had the time to feel what you feel,
Right.
you've had the time to reflect and see what these feelings are revealing about what's really going on, right? Because oftentimes, especially when you get stressed, you're irritable, you're being mean to people, you're fatigued, you can't sleep, all these things are going on. You know what's going on, but you don't really know where
Right.
it's coming from, right?
Mhm.
And those closest to you are usually the ones that are bearing the brunt of that burden. Like, man,
that's right.
you're not being yourself. I don't even feel good around you anymore. That's also a transference of energy with us not having that awareness of our feelings because we're suppressing it. So healing begins when we take those first two steps. Healing begins when you take charge of, you give yourself the power.
Yes.
And so there are many different ways. One of my favorite things to do in my stress management class is talk about breath work because I want to make this cost efficient.
Is that breathing?
We live in a world where healthcare is so inaccessible, but we also come from a people who are so resourceful.
Yes, we have.
So it's important. I think sometimes we get so intelligent that we become completely ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is it's possible.
Yes, of course.
You know?
Yeah, the smart dummy.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So with breathing, I like to say, yes, being intentional, because breathing in and of itself is a detoxification exercise.
Yes.
Sure, we breathe because we need it, but your body literally is filtering in. When you inhale, when you consume, and it's also an exercise on giving and receiving.
Yeah.
Think about the imbalances in your life. We always talk about us being givers. For all of you guys that are givers, you give, you give, you give, you give.
Me.
But when it comes
Me.
to receiving, it's awkward. When it comes to receiving, there's resistance. When it comes to receiving, there's guilt.
You see
there's
that
shame
we see
behind
that
it. But that also,
yeah.
those are also stressors, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of this stuff, we think it's so small because we've been taught to be so strong that there's not weakness in acknowledging that we need help. There's not weakness in acknowledging that something has to change.
That's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So breathing, giving and receiving. You inhale in, you receive, but on the exhale, you also have to give.
Yeah. I want you to give us some ways that we can relieve stress. But before we do that, I just want us to talk quickly about kids managing stress, because that's very important.
Yes.
Right? So let's talk a little bit about kids managing stress. And then before we close, if you can give us just a few ways that we can manage our stress as adults. Okay?
Right. Well, when it comes to children, I think for us, the best thing is to lead by example. Since this is a hereditary thing, you are their greatest teacher on how you cope. I do a lot of after school programs back home with children. So children need to be in their bodies. They need to express themselves. I truly believe that adults are children.
Adults too. We need to express ourselves.
Just older children.
I absolutely I hate it when people want me to be a certain way. Like, I'm a bubbly, vivacious life person. I hate people tell me, be quiet, do this, you have to do that. I am me. I want to be the authentic Sherani. I do not like to be put in a box and controlled. It makes me feel very unhappy, very uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah. And then that stresses me out and gives me anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can imagine if I feel this as an adult, like, what are the kids dealing with?
Because they feel helpless. They don't have any agency to tell you, I want this. This is how.
Stand in the corner. Sit there. Don't do that. Don't say this.
We don't allow children to be human. If you have an attitude, hey, don't be having an attitude. Don't talk back. And it's just like, they're little humans. They have things that stress them out. They have responsibilities. They have overwhelm. So a typical session with children for me would be, I'd come in the room, children are excited, they're moving around. So it's all about releasing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's about releasing the energy. You just don't want it to stack up.
Right.
So I'll have the kids come in. I'll say, okay, guys, we're going to do a breathing exercise. So first we'll start with deep breaths. We'll do 3 big deep breaths. And then I say, okay, y'all, now we're going to yell. So I let them scream.
I love yelling.
Because expression is so important.
Mm-hmm.
I say, I want you to think about your day. If your mommy was mean to you today, if somebody bullied you on the bus, if you hated math and you had a test today, I don't care what it is. I want you to think about it. And I want you to scream at it.
Listen,
and make it go away.
I need to sign up for that kiddies class.
Listen,
I love
the
that.
adults do it too. And let me tell you, in my adult stress management classes, the scream is everybody's favorite because you just have to get it out. You really have to get it out. In movement, again, one of those sides of the spectrum is fight, flight, or freeze.
Right.
So we either just want to get away from it, we don't want to deal with it, or we freeze. Mm-hmm. So movement is so important. Getting in your body instead of out of your head. So sometimes we dance, sometimes we do yoga, sometimes we do fitness things.
I love dance.
Children have so much energy pent up inside of them, and letting them know that it's okay to express themselves. Actually talking to them. How do you feel? Children are so wise. We don't give them enough credit for what they're capable of, but they're so wise. So also treating them like little people instead of like...
Listen, anybody who has had the opportunity to spend time with myself and my son, they always get almost judgy with me because people have said to me, oh, you give your son too much liberty. Because as a kid, I would ask my son, honey, what would you like for breakfast? You can have some eggs or you can have some bacon. And I will give him options because he's a human being. I know as a person, I don't feel like eating the same thing every day.
Right.
And so I would give him, and people say, oh, and then people say things to me like, oh, well, when we were growing up, we had to eat what's in the house. I'm not going to do that to my child. I never did it. And people always felt like it was wrong. Oh, you gave your child too much liberty. I talk to my son. I never did that goo gaga. I speak to him as a person. And it's always been like that. And I have really, really benefited from him just being a person and, just being able to express himself around me and feeling comfortable with me.
And expression frees others around them.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to schools where there's been a bully. We're doing yoga or dance. The bully's next to the kid that they bully. And the kid that they bully is awesome at yoga. They can hold all the balance. They can focus. I tell children that they have superpowers. Their superpowers are focus. Their superpowers are their breath. So again, just building that awareness as they're younger so that they have that vocabulary when they're older to be able to label how they feel, to be able to identify.
Right.
And oftentimes I'll even do classes with children and adults because, again, sometimes kids unconsciously say the most wisest thing. So for me, that's what it's all about. It's about letting them express themselves, asking them, how was your day? How do you feel? What do you want? That's important to leave space because those suppressed children grow into suppressed adults.
Yes.
The voice goes from being your grandmother or your mom, sit down. Children should be seen and not heard.
That's right.
To it being your subconscious and how you talk and communicate with yourself.
Right. That is so on point. And I want to speak some more about that, Hathor. We're going to continue speaking after the show. But just before we close, would you please just give us a few tips on how we as adults can manage stress? Not everybody wants to cry in a closet. And we don't want to do the lights, camera, action. We want to be real. We want to treat ourselves well. We want to have inner peace. We just want to be happy. So what do you think some of the things are that we can do?
So first, identifying how you're feeling, right? The bad feelings, but also identifying ways that you can make yourself feel good. It can also be as simple as having a smoothie instead of that ice cream, because when you eat that ice cream, it tears your stomach up, but you do it anyway because you're sad and you don't care, and then you have to pay for it later. It could be as simple as actually taking the time to do things that make you feel good. Taking that bath. I love baths. Taking that shower, and you know what? Saying, clearing your schedule for the day. Yes, I have responsibilities. I had to be here. I had to be there.
But today I'm doing absolutely nothing.
Exactly. Tuning it, even as nice as just a bottle of wine with friends, having someone that you can talk to, that you can express yourself to, listening to music, going for a walk.
And what do we do? Go over for a swim, a 1 hour swim. Yes.
It's really about movement, and movement doesn't necessarily mean to physical exertion. It just means transferring the energy, transforming it from something else.
Yes.
Because energy isn't created or destroyed. It's transferred or transformed.
Wonderful.
So finding a way to transmute that energy. So again, I would say the best thing to do first is to find out your stress indicators and how those feel.
Yes.
And then finding out the things that make you feel good, so that when you can identify that you are stressed, you know, hey, my skin's getting hot. You know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to sit on the hammock. I'm going to read that book I've been saying I'm going to do. You know what? I've been working so hard. I deserve this pedicure. Kids, I love you, but the word of the day is no. Mommy, can you? No. Daddy, can you? No. Love you, but no.
All right. Listen, I like it. I really like it. So there you have it, folks. Stress Management 101. And this is my takeaway from all that you've said. And you've given us some really, really good information. My takeaway is, if you're feeling stressed, life is just really too short. Stop. Try and figure out what's making you feel stressed out. Go to the beach. Have that ice cream, say no, do whatever it takes to make you happy. Okay? Thank you for joining us on another episode of Let's Catch Up with Sherani. We'll see you again real soon. Bye, family.